All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I would like to start off by giving all praises and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Baha Quadash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the elect, the men who are pushing this word in these times. All right, in all truth, diligence, and vigilance. All right. I always say vigilance, you know, but seriously, in these times, there, as other times, there's trillions of dollars that goes into keeping our people distracted. There's something that's always, this devil, keeps you unbalanced. Okay, so that you can't focus on, what's really going on in reality. Okay, they keep you focused with whether you have to be focused on work, paying bills, feeding your, if you have a large family, some brothers may have a lot of children, and you have to focus on feeding, your children. A lot of those things can make you lose focus in its truth. And then once those, children get older, they themselves start going through, trouble, which then draws back to you. Okay. And, things like that, can be a distraction from your focus on the truth. And that's why this truth, the true doctrine, okay, of who the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus Christ, whose real name in the Hebrew, once again, okay, is Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. All right. The true doctrine and truth of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai is coming out in these days. All right. And, it's important to detach yourself from these worldly things, because, they actually, a lot of this worldly stuff does pull you completely away. It's like an undertow. Okay, if you go to a beach, okay, and the water, doesn't have to seem deep. A lot of times, you could go out into the lake, and just you want to get your legs wet or whatever, and you have what they call an undertow, and that's the water that goes back into, you have water that comes in from the lake or the ocean, but then you have an undertow, which is a current, a different current, which takes you out into deeper waters. And once you go out so far, if you're not skilled in swimming, or even some skilled swimmers, are pulled back into those waters that are that are deep, in which you can drown. Okay, and so that's what Christianity and Islam has done to our people. They've allowed them to be pulled back into this, into those deep waters. Okay, and where our people are drowning. And our people are out now. Now the sharks are getting them, the killer whales, the alligators, the crocodiles. Okay. And so in this lesson, I'm going to discuss how, and hopefully, Lord willing, we can, go through the scriptures as well. But how the so-called black Christian church, they don't, they have no love for the black Muslims, all right? And there's no such thing as either, okay? But, even though I'm talking about all the tribes, all right? These black Christians, they have no love for a brother or sister who may be, trapped into Islam, okay? Because most of the videos that you see these Christians are doing, they're targeted at Hebrew Israelites. They feel that they need to save only the black Hebrew Israelites, okay, quote unquote, that's what they call us, or they need to save the so-called white man, all right? Now, they don't want to save, you black Muslims, okay? They're not concerned with saving Arabs, okay? You're not going to see those videos of these Christians coming out saying that the Arabs, they're worthy of being, Christians call their Lord Jesus or Christ. So they're not going to come out and say that, Jesus is going to save the Arabs or the black Muslims, okay? They're not offering, they're actually not even offering it. But what they do, they do say Jesus loves everybody, okay? But, you hear them say that a lot. Jesus loves everybody. But they never, mention the Arabs, okay? Or an East Indian, okay? A Moabite, or, a Chinese person, or, they're only concerned with, first and foremost, saving the white man, woman, and child. They, that's who they want to save, all right? And then, after that, it's the Hebrew Israelites. Because, they make a lot of videos about the Hebrew Israelites. So, let's see who they should be concerned with. So, I asked how many in Google. I didn't chat GPT this, I asked how many black Muslims are there, all right? So here is, and this is a good answer for you blackity black people. It says it's difficult to determine the exact number of black Muslims globally due to the challenges of defining black, okay? So even this AI, all right, and this is not chat GPT, this is just a regular Google search. You see, Google don't even group all people of dark complexion together, all right? The AI has now the ability to differentiate, all right, between different races and ethnicities of dark-skinned people, okay? And this is something that, our people, they can't do, all right? They can't, they don't do. They like to include all dark-skinned people up and put them all into one group and say that, they're African and this and that. And they do it down in the Northern Kingdom because, a lot of them say that they're Afro-Latino or, a lot of some stuff like that, okay? But they're not. So this AI understands that, like when you go into the Zondervan, I haven't been in the Zondervan in a long time, but as defined by Zondervan, all right, when defining Ham, okay, and it tells you that Ham is the progenitor of the dark races, okay, but and it goes on further to say not the Negro, all right. So this is understood. It says, however, statistics are available for specific regions. In the United States, Black Americans make up around 20% of the total U.S. Muslim population. Okay, this equates to an estimated 770,000 to 1 million Black Muslims in the U.S. All right. Some sources estimate the number to be around 690,000. All right. So it goes on to say most Black Americans and Christians are not affiliated with a religion. All right. So about 2% of Black Americans identify as Muslim. Well, and let's see. It says the cities with notable Black Muslim populations, include Chicago. Okay, yeah, there is an outstanding number of Muslims that are Black here, claim to be Muslims. All right, Detroit, New York City, Newark, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, and Atlanta. Okay? So of all of these, Black Muslims, you don't see Christians making videos trying to wake up these Muslims. Okay? Us, the Hebrew Israelites, we address everybody that is, all of the Israelites who are lost. So let me get a scripture real quick. Give me 1 minute. All right. This is Ezekiel 3:17. And it says, Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Okay? So we know that the so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, the so-called Native Americans, they are Israel. Okay? The majority of our people, they are lost. They don't have any understanding who they are, and those who may have come to the understanding or heard their identity have rejected it as a whole. Okay, and it's really not that they're rejecting a religion. That's not what they're rejecting. Okay, they've heard about the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? And that is who they're rejecting. Okay? Especially these plantation Christians. They're rejecting Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Okay? So it says, therefore, hear the word at my mouth, okay, and give them warning from me, okay, because a lot of people may, you know, they, make these videos and in a, like, like, this is a personal opinion of, a group of men, all right, or a man, like this has something to do with men, okay? And so, people make, these, videos and try to say, well, you guys are not including the white people, all right? Or your doctrine takes aim at, so-called whites, all right, and some of these other races, all right, of people. And so these people don't want to accept what the Lord is saying. And this happened before, all right? The Lord told the Israelites to destroy all of the Canaanites before them, all right? And, Jake, Captain Save-A-Ho, all right? That's a clink in our flesh, all right? Captain Save-A-Ho, they didn't do it, okay? And just something in Jake, all right? And so, ultimately they, blended in with the Canaanites, all right, and learned the ways of these heathen, all right, and which got us, in deeper shit with the Lord, okay? And that love everybody, that philosophy goes back to then, okay? Because that's what they were screaming when the Israelites were coming to destroy them. Oh, you need to love everybody, all right? So, this is not a doctrine that we're pulling out of a hat, okay? This is what's written, okay? Real quick, let me get another scripture. All right, verse 9. This is Jeremiah. I said verse 9. Jeremiah 6 and 9. All right. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall thoroughly glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. Okay? Turn back thine hand as a grape gatherer into the baskets. All right? So, right now, okay, when you see men on the highways and the byways, men doing these videos, okay, you know, the Israelites are really everywhere, okay, and you know, to the point to where even some have different doctrines, but you know, they're still, you know, teaching. You know, some have their own little, you know, their different thing, all right. But they're telling you, for the most part, that you are an Israelite, okay. Verse 10 says, "To whom shall I speak and give warning that they may hear?" Okay. And who needs this? Who needs to hear this warning? Who needs to hear this message of salvation more than the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, who are on the bottom everywhere that they are? Okay. Now, you know, the Muslims and Islam, you know, their people are, you know, for the most part, they're prospering. Okay. You look at Iran, these people, you know, these people have their hands in oil. They have their hands in other textiles and industries. Okay. And for the you know, you go to Dubai, all right. You know, a lot of these places, these Arabs, you know, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, there's countries that a lot of you jakes you're not even familiar with. Okay, around the world, globally, these Arabs, okay, they're doing lovely. But yet and still, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you've been conquered. Okay, your women have been ran through, you know, physically, spiritually. Your men as well. Okay, you're the leading. You're now, you know, you're now in the face of lewd and rude behavior. You're the poster boy for that. Okay. And they, okay, these Arabs, they've made themselves the face of peace. Okay. Here it is, you know, Ishmael the wild man, all right? Now he's the face of peace, and you are the face of the destruction, which you should be the face of justice, of judgment, righteous judgment. But see, these people don't want righteous judgment. That's not what they're looking for. Okay? And so they, you know, when you look historically, the slave trade, all right, it started with the Arabs putting you in slavery first. The Arabs put you in slavery first, all right? So, you know, and they're doing fine, man. They're doing just dandy. Okay? It's you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Look at the so-called Native Americans on these reservations. Look at Jake in Chicago. We do videos on this every day. These people have no control over the mentality that they have. This has been the mentality that has been taught to these people by the so-called white people. All right? who we, through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, have been sent to give warning to. All right? We have, we're giving a warning to the so-called white man as well. Like, look, you are, listen, this is what's about to happen to you. Okay? This is coming from the Lord. We're telling you, and yeah, they're responding like in the movie 300, okay? They're going to, as stern as the what was this guy's position? He was like a ambassador, okay? He didn't want to go to war, okay? That's why he came in with the heads of those kings, okay? In the movie 300, the ambassador, he rolled in, okay, and told him, look, Leonidas, all you have to do is just give just act like you with it, okay, and just give some land and some water, all right, as a symbol that you want peace, all right. And so Leonidas, he knew that, he understood what that meant, okay. But at the same time, hey, this guy was just a messenger, okay. And so, what did he do, man? He kicked the messenger into the hole. Now, did that really happen in real life? I don't, could that be, I'm not sure, okay? Could that be the the beginning of the saying, don't shoot the messenger? Okay, I'm not sure. But you people are shooting the messenger, okay? So reading again, it says, to whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord is unto them a reproach. They have no delight in it. And that's 2/3 of our people, okay? 2/3 of our people have no delight in the word of the Lord, okay? And neither do the heathen, okay? First and foremost, the heathen don't like it. That's why our people don't like it, because the heathen are not with it, okay? It's talking about saving our people, cleaning them up, okay? Having them look good. No, our people don't want that, okay? Our people don't want that. They don't want to be running around smelling good and, looking good, and, they want to outdo, shit on that other nigga. That's what they want to shit on that nigga, okay? That's their mentality. They're the oil, like the Arabs, they have oil fields, all right? The oil fields for Negroes, for a nigga, all right? A so-called black man, his oil field is black on black violence. That's how he makes money in the rap and music industry, through black on black violence. He has to, what's the word? Portray, okay? He has to portray an individual who's about black on black violence and destruction. And listen, this is nothing new to Jake. Understanding that, that lifestyle is detrimental is nothing new. rappers themselves, turn and say, look, listen, man, people who've been in the industry, not only the Hebrew Israelites, but people who are in the industry have themselves come out and said, listen, this is what they told us that we have to do. All right. And what have our people done? They've embraced it. They've embraced it like they've embraced that love everybody, because that's what they accept. That's what the nigga has accepted. Black on black violence as a blessing. Ishmael has, oil wells in Dubai, all right? Saudi Arabia, he has Dubai, these places. The 1948er, the J. Wish man, he has all of the banks, all of the resources of the world. Okay, all of these other ethnicities, okay? But on the bottom is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans who don't have a part of any of that. But yet and still, and guess what? Those other people are not trying to get you into that shit. That's the funny thing about the whole, that's the whole thing about it, man. And see, and this is what restraint is. This is what, we're learning restraint. We're learning restraint because, for us to understand and see and notice this through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and see how these people are treating our own people, it's once again like, hey, we're being that Captain Save-A-Ho, all right? So verse 11, all right, says, therefore I am full of fury of the Lord. And we're at the point now to, hey, we're dealing with restraint, man. Hey, listen, I be around Jake, man, and I can't, I can't be around Jake too long, man. Jake get to doing that Jake shit like it's cool. And I'm ready to, put my fist through Jake's head, man. Okay? All of these, soft ass ways that, that Jake tries to come across. No, man. And I realize that, through time, certain trends come and go, but a lot of these trends are they're heathenistic, they're weak, they're cowardly, they're too low. Okay. So verse 11 says, therefore I am full of fury of the Lord. I am weary with holding in. Okay? And this is the Lord, man. Okay? I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of young men together. For even the husband with the wife shall be taken, the age with him that is full of days. All right? And this is, this is talking about you Israelites, man. Okay? And ultimately in these days, okay, you're going to feel the destruction. Okay? This is, in the past, Jake went into captivities. Okay? Had to suffer being under the rulership of these nations that whose ways and traditions you're still following. Okay? The Christians know these scriptures. They're not reaching out to you with these scriptures, man. Well, let me take that back. They have possession of these scriptures, okay? They don't know them. Once we bring them out, then they get then they know them, all right? This is Jeremiah 6:17. It says, also, I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. What's the trumpet? All right, this word going out. A trumpet is designed to make a sound in which it catches your attention. And that's what we're doing. You hear us on the highways and byways. When you go to videos, you hear our voice over and over again, telling you, okay, warning you. Okay? This is what you hear, you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans. It just don't, a trumpet just don't make one sound, it makes many sounds all together. Okay? Also, I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet. Again, the trumpet is what? The Bible, this doctrine. But they said, we will not hearken. And this is you Israelites. Okay? You're saying you're not going to hearken to this. You're not going to listen. You're going to go run. You're going to go be a Muslim. Okay? You're going to be a Christian. And you're going to continue to do those sinful things, under a new title. Okay? And the penalty for that is what you're getting every day. Your lives. Okay? Black culture, that's the penalty. Your woman, she's calling you all kind of names, this bitch is out of order, man. Your children, okay, they're gunning to kill you. It's something new every damn day. You got people who you thought that was in your circle 20, 30 years, and now they're starting to fold. Okay? Isaiah 52:8 says, thy watchmen shall lift up the voice. Okay, and that's what we're doing. We're lifting up the voice. Whether it's out on the streets, whether it's doing videos, you hear us. Okay? We're not whispering, doing. We're not doing that with these videos. We're speaking loud, so that you can hear the words. Now, yeah, we may, fumble through the words, because this is through the Spirit. but yet and still, you're getting these, you're getting the message, you're getting the word, okay? Thy watchmen shall lift up the voice. With the voice together shall they sing. Okay? And like I said, a trumpet, it makes, it just doesn't make one sound. It's a number of sounds together. All right? For they shall see eye to eye when the Lord shall bring again Zion. And we see eye to eye, all right? Starting with the elder apostle, bishops, elders on down, okay? To those who are sincerely in this thing, those affiliated who are sincerely in this thing, we all see eye to eye according to this doctrine. Okay? This doctrine is pure. Okay? There's no violence, associated with it. Now, are we men? Yeah, we're men. We go through things on a daily basis. Okay? Because that's where we're at. We're in Babylon. Okay? But we're not trying to take over Babylon, America, okay? Because according to the scriptures, America is Babylon the Great, and it's going to be destroyed. But with that as an understanding, we're not trying to take this place over, all right? We're not trying to make this place comfy, all right, for ourselves or you either, all right? We're giving you a warning that it's best that you get ready to get to moving, get to stepping, because this place is about to be destroyed. But you people, hey man, you ain't talking about nothing, man. You ain't man. That's the sentiment of you niggas, man, and spiggers. There's something new with you niggas every day. Oh, don't say the word nigga. Well, so I'm just some backwards and see, that's Jake trying to dive into that black on black violence wealth. Okay? This guy that just recently passed, Neely Fuller, okay? Neely Fuller used to do these segments, about Jake, man. And you don't see a lot of those segments going out, because, Jake hates to see himself in the mirror. He's like he's become like Esau. Esau doesn't like to look at himself in the mirror. That's where you get that vampire from, okay? Vampire doesn't want to see his own reflection. That's why they hate you Jakes so much. So you Jakes, you're not, back in the early 1900s and 20s, Esau would, that's how, when they would do the blackface, they would dress up in blackface. And look up blackface, a lot of you too young. You don't even know what the fuck blackface is, man. You don't know what it is. That's how confused Jake is. But, look up blackface. What was going on in the early 1900s and, before then, Esau would dress up like a so-called Negro and put paint on his face, have some big monkey ears and monkey lips, okay? And he would, talk and behave how he wanted the Negro to be. That's how he wanted the Negro to be. When you watch blackface, okay, when you see those old that's Esau's vision of how he wants you niggas to be, and that's what you've become. Okay? You become their song. All right? And so the Christians, the black Christian church, they're not trying to, they're not concerned with a Jake who may be lost and you know, his soul will, you know, will be lost in while he's in the Islam. Because yeah, you're in the Islam, you're a black Muslim, your soul is lost, man. You're a lost soul. And then the Christians will say, well, they don't. Well, the Muslims here in America, they use the Bible. Okay? They use the Bible. Actually, more than you Christians. All right? I was reading an article earlier where this witch, okay? Where this witch, you know, this very, you know, big witch here, you know, she's a Jake, she's a 2/3. She said, hey, she learned her witchcraft from her mother and grandmother who were people who were, you know, heavy in the church. And the majority of the people that are in the black churches, they're into witchcraft. And that's why we're seeing the evils among our people, because that's what they want. They want the same thing that the Canaanites were doing. And that's why you see the biggest holes that you're gonna see. They got that Eye of Horus symbol on them, or the Ankh symbol. Those are the biggest whorish women that you want to see. Those are the women who say everything is equal. Okay, the women of Canaan. Those are the women that and those are also the women that Esau loves. Okay. Remember, Esau went to those women first. Okay, he tried to darken himself up. Okay, he tried to put some melanin in his skin. And so he went first to those dark nations. The darker nations, all right? But lo and behold, okay, those children still came out at that time, you know, looking like Esau, all right? But now, okay, as the scriptures tell you, you know, through the years, you know, people become weaker. So now, you know, when Esau has bears a child with someone of a dark nation, now they look more like that nation. You know, they look a little darker. Okay? They look darker. And that's why ultimately the Lord is going to, you have the parable of the tare and the wheat. Okay? And the tares that are growing among the wheat. So, Lord willing, you have been edified. Until next time, Shalom.